American culture, traditional society, the entire social system is a myth. Traditional retirement is this weird social construct, and it's a complete myth that you were never really supposed to get. What is it that you want to do with your life? Keep that in mind. What is it that you want to do with your life? Let's talk about retirement and how you can actually make it happen for you no matter what your age, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever you are. What can you do so that you can actually retire? Welcome to Goose Pond Hideout with Rob. Good morning. Getting to be kind of cool here. So I got my little Firebox going here to keep us a little bit warm while you're talking about the retirement myth and what that means for you. And I want you to keep in the back of your mind, what do you really want to do? Keep thinking about that while we're chatting about retirement here. So, you know, the traditional retirement in this country is actually a myth. And what do I mean by that? Well, real quickly here, I don't want this to be a history class, but I want to cover this real quick while the sun's coming up over here, is Social Security was created in 1935. 1935, Social Security was signed into law. In 1940, 42 people were paying into Social Security for every one person that was drawn out. 42 in for every one person that was drawn out. Okay? Today, that's 3 to 1. Today, 3 people are paying in for every person that's drawn out. And they say that by 2050, it's going to be 2 to 1. I think we're going to get to 2 to 1 faster than that. And the reason for that is the second part is the fertility rate, how many babies women are having. And I think it should make perfect sense that mathematically a woman needs to have 2.1 babies in her life, because it takes a man and a woman, male, female, to make a baby, which is 2 people, and everything in life doesn't work out perfect, so you need, a little bit of extra. So 2.1 people per woman to the equilibrium to maintain the population. If it's above 2.1, the population goes up. If it's below 2.1, the population goes down, right? So right now, today, the rate is 1.6. 1.6 is way below 2.1. So our population is technically decreasing. If it wasn't for the number of people coming into the country, our population would definitely be falling. And it's actually going down every year. It's getting lower and lower. So, I mean, schools are going to have less kids. There's going to be even less people in the workforce. So that's why I think the 2050, it's going to get to 2 to 1 way quicker than that, because our birth rate is dropping so rapidly. So what does that mean for you and your retirement, right? So what that means for you is changing your mindset. To me, traditional retirement, again, was a myth. I didn't mention it, but popped into my head here. Back in 1935, when Social Security started, the payout's 65, because it was 65 for a long time, and recently they started increasing it month by month. But the average life expectancy of a male back then was 60. So you're going to be dead at 60 years old, but you didn't get Social Security to 65. So that was kind of the myth thing, is, you know, very few people were ever supposed to actually get it. Getting smoky. It's blowing right in your face. So you weren't ever supposed to really collect, you know, very few people were supposed to get Social Security. They didn't think about our age going up. So anyway, as I said at the beginning, keep in the back of your mind, what is it that you really want to do, is you need to change your thinking on what retirement is. And, you know, the thought of getting out of school, and whether it's high school, trade school, community college, regular college, whatever it is, when you're done being a kid and you transition to being a grown-up, an adult, and you start working, the thought that you're going to work at some job from, you know, 20, 25 years old up to 65-ish years old, and then you're going to retire and you're going to play golf every day or ride around the country in your motor home, your RV, and, you know, stay at campgrounds or do cruise ships or whatever it is that you think that you're going to do when you get to retirement. It's never going to happen. It's just not. And especially today, because of, you know, now we've got inflation and all the problems with that, so things are more and more expensive. So if you stop working and retire on a fixed income, 5 or 10 years from now, you're not going to have enough money because everything is getting more and more expensive. I experienced that when I was young, back in the 70s and 80s, of family members being priced out of retirement. So you've got to change that mindset. You want to simplify your life. That's why we're on the homestead. And you're just build a life that you don't need to retire from. You know, that's my point of all of this, discussing Social Security and birth rates and fertility rates and inflation and our ridiculous government and the myth of traditional retirement. Is change your mindset. Build a life that you do not need to retire from. That's what you need to be doing. A life you don't need to retire from. So how do you do that? You know, well, you simplify your life. If your expenses are low, you're off to a good start. You know, drive an older car, buy a house that you can pay for, you know, whether you've paid off the mortgage or whatever. Live below your means was always the classic example that everybody used to always say, is live below your means, and find a career that you can continue to do when you're less physically able, and then when you reach that so-called retirement age, you know, maybe you just slow down a little bit, but you've built a life that you don't need to retire from, that you're excited to get up in the morning and continue doing what it is you're doing, maybe just in a little bit slower or lower capacity, right? So, you know, think about careers like virtual assistants. You know, you can work online, like I'm chatting with you here, from anywhere. So some kind of virtual assistant is proofreading, bookkeeping, you know, some sort of online web designing, web work. Maybe you like photography and you go out with your camera, take pictures, load those, do that up online. You know, there's all kinds of things that you can do digitally in the digital world. And then even in the real world, you know, depending on where you live, you may be able to incorporate, can't believe it's blowing over that way, but you may be able to incorporate that into your life. So be thinking about that, changing your mindset, building a life that you don't need to retire from, that you can, you know, wind your life down and be slower so that you can have, you know, fun things, but you're still doing what you love to do, because that's your dream, your passion, and you're excited to get up every morning, drink your coffee, build your smoky fire, and do what you love to do. Freedom!